You are listening to the Red Roots podcast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know if my voice went up an octave. I'm not sure. I was just talking normal. Yeah. Everybody doing well?
Yep.
Yeah.
We took a week off.
It felt like it's been forever.
It always feels like that. Anytime we take a week off, it takes a long time. We took a week off because last Tuesday was something that called Giving Tuesday. If you didn't see that, we did a fundraising campaign on our Facebook page, really all over. We're doing a fundraising campaign, but we wanted to kind of really push it on that day because it's Giving Tuesday, and that's the day that people apparently are looking for nonprofits to give to and things of the like. So we did that, and so we raised a good amount of money. That's what I can say. You don't have the official amounts because there's Facebook that was doing matching. What is it called? Donation matching for the first, for the first $2 million, it was 100% match, and then for the next $5 million, it was 10% of whatever. And so we don't know yet. We won't know until like January of what was matched and whatever. Basically, so they can manipulate the numbers and give us nothing. That's what it really is about.
Not.
But then also we have another friend who he did a matching for his job. They matched donations as well, and so we got some donations through there. We at least got like, let's see, wait a minute, it's off the top of my head. So four? How much did we get through Facebook? That said,
It was almost 3,000
no, it was over 3,000, I believe.
through Facebook.
Yeah, it was like three. Let's say 3,000 to be safe. I have to go back and look at it, and then another 1,000, 4,000 so far. So like we at least got like 6,000. Like that's what we got. Mm-hmm. Like it's not, forget all the matching and stuff like that. Like so, yeah. If we got some matching from my friend's job that we're supposed to get, then that'll take us up to like 8,000 some and whatever. And yeah, and Facebook, who knows? So we at least got $6,000 some, still fundraising to get to at least $12,000 to buy our second piece of property. So we have actually we've purchased the first piece of property. So yay, fun times. It was something that, I don't know, it's an exciting moment for me. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's nothing. My church bought, that's great. I'm happy for you guys too, but it's a big deal for me. Not a big. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big deal for anybody else. I'm not putting anybody else that pressure on anyone, but for me, it's a really big deal. It's something that, first of all, I looked at every single day because it's right behind my house. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just always, I don't know. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday with you guys, but then equally with you as well. Of just, you get comfortable dreaming. And then, like, I think subconsciously, I just never really thought it was ever going to happen. But equally, like, I was praying about it, kind of, but, like, I wasn't.
Kind of.
But like, this is what we talked about a while back. We were reading a book together and whatever. Like, we're just so daggone scared to fail. And we're so, like, and it's not even, the failure, we're scared of that, definitely. Like, I think most people are afraid of failure. I know a few people who are not, which is not a bad trait. But equally, we're terrified to like pray for things and like kind of make it be publicly known that we're praying for things, and then it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't make God look bad. It makes it look like you have no idea what you're talking about, and in terms of like what you're believing for or where you feel God led you and whatever. And so it's this weird, just terrifying space of, dare I say, faith? Because is it faith? Like, you know what I mean? It's not faith in the sense of I'm going to pray harder so this is going to happen. It's like, man, you know what? I'm going to follow God and I'm willing to be crazy doing it. And like that's a tough place for me. We rely heavily on donations, to do what we do. And so you don't want to look unstable at any moment or whatever. And so I think it was in the backyard, the properties was my backyard. And is, anyways, yeah, we bought it, so whatever, in case you didn't hear. But, it cost $10,500, and I was just like, man, we don't have that money. And like, I didn't even think we don't have that money. I just knew we don't have that money. So it wasn't even a thing. I just really got comfortable saying it would be really cool to buy that. So every time Simon comes over, like, man, we could do this. And like, I'm no problem dreaming about it. Dreaming is free.
No,
you know
I
what I mean?
remember like after lunch, you and Simon will go out to the back porch and just like stand there, Simon with his arms crossed, and he's just looking. And I'm in the kitchen looking at you guys. I'm like, what are they talking about?
Pointing, looking.
Yeah, just
like,
standing
you could. Like, I mean, it's a great thing to do, and I think it's necessary because you won't even act if you don't have that. But that's a step. But dreaming is free. It costs you nothing. It doesn't, which is great. And that's why it's the first step, because if dreaming costs you something, you wouldn't even do that. But then it's like, okay, at some point you have to develop some type of plan. And you do have to like start believing God for it. Like, yes. But again, now if you don't get it, then it's not like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have believed God for it. Well, it wasn't his plan. But I mean, I think we all believed that it was God's plan. We just didn't. So what's the problem? You know what I mean? So we just didn't execute. But I think for me, just terrified of it being like, yeah, I believe it's God's plan, but I ain't saying that publicly because if I'm wrong, you know what I mean? It goes with that. And so
that fear is like, what was that sound? Like,
I don't know.
The fear is like such a weird thing because you obviously don't want it, but you take it on, right? And like even down to the point, it's like Ramon and I are like, should we do this Giving Tuesday thing? Like, does it just look like we're seeking any opportunity for people to donate, like, asking for money. But then Ramon spoke to a few friends and they were like, yeah, it's a great idea. They kind of pumped us up a little bit. Yeah. and so we did it. And then we're like, well, what if we only get like 2 likes? Or I'm wondering, is anybody going to respond to this, And then we saw people, start liking it. I was like, okay, well, at least somebody liked it.
You think about likes. Like I think about the actual fundraiser.
I'm thinking of the attention it's getting. So if somebody's liking it and somebody's sharing it, then more people are going to hear about it, And so when I saw that people started sharing it before, because people couldn't donate the day that we posted because then it wouldn't have been matched, or at least we weren't encouraging it until that Tuesday. And so, but when I saw before the Tuesday we posted an announcement about it and saw people sharing it, I was like, oh, people are starting to hear about it and actually pay attention to it. So then after that, kind of the fear died down a little bit. But it's so interesting how the approval and attention of man is what caused me to be like, oh, okay, this is going to go over at least okay, instead of, like you said, like just trust that God has a plan and he provides for us. But I was mess.
It's just scary. I mean, that just is what it is. It's terrifying, but it's a big step. It's a necessary step. I mean, I think if we're going to continue to be here and continue, like, we're fine. We could continue building the church, but the way that we believe church and the way that we believe in doing church and is not just having better services and, just let's build a building. Great. Definitely those things. But like, we just believe in community stuff, man. Like I think that's all of our conviction is like, that we can't be a church that just has services and prayer meetings and Bible studies or whatever, which are all great things and necessary things. But a church that has to be active and a transformative, a transformation station in the community, and transformation in the sense that people come in and are transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ. Absolutely. But equally, we take that gospel to people and our lifestyles back it up. Our practices and our priorities in life should back up what we preach on Sundays and every other day. So, and I mean, just helping the poor and serving people and all that is just all throughout the Bible. I mean, there's a big kind of debate about some of that stuff right now. I don't get it. And I'm not even going to join in that debate because just get mad at me. I would rather people get mad at me for helping poor people and fighting injustices of abuse and racism or whatever. I would rather people get mad at me for that and they can just stay mad over there than like have to really like stand before God and be like, well, I was I don't, you know what I mean? Like we had Bible study, and God was like, yeah, but you guys didn't even like offer anything to the woman who was literally beat to death by her husband or ex-husband or boyfriend, you know, down the street, or the drunken guy who's been trying to get off of, trying to put down alcohol, and like you got, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to have that conversation at like on Judgment Day, you know, or whatever. And so I don't know. That's kind of our thing where we're going. So it's necessary for us to, you know, be buying property and doing these things and whatever, and kind of start making moves going forward. I've already planted trees on the property. So that was like the day one. Like I planted 3 trees out there. So guayaba trees. Was that what I planted? Guayaba and mango. Yeah. 2 guayaba, 1 mango is what I planted. So in 4 years, be on the lookout for some fruit, Simon. No, this is small. No, so today's episode is going to be our last episode of the year, for several reasons. It's end of the year stuff. End of the year is supposed to be a relaxing time. It is not for me. There's a lot of just end of year stuff with nonprofits, and I have to have a board meeting and for Red Roots stuff, and just planning for all that stuff and do some paperwork and blah blah blah. Obviously, equally have some personal stuff I want to take care of. Family, Christmas coming up. 2 little girls who are 9 and highly anticipating Christmas, and just stuff like that. Anyways, also just planning for the next year of the church, where we're going with that, kind of getting some series and stuff planned out on paper, and just kind of taking this time to do that as well. We're doing membership classes next year, and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of taking, not this week, but then following the next 2 weeks, to do that and get that stuff in order so we can kind of launch well next year. And so also can enjoy time with our family and stuff at the end of the year, and kind of have that space to be able to do that, And so this is a morning. This is basically a full morning that me personally, speaking from a selfish perspective, that I would personally benefit greatly from having this extra morning for the next 3, 4, 5. Probably, actually, we won't come back the first week of January, but for the next, I don't know how long. Mm-hmm. So it's the last one of the year. What I want to talk about, not just wanted to, still do, is this past year. What have been your ups and your downs? What have been your highlights and your biggest challenge this past year in 2020? I mean, the challenges, I feel like that is a lengthy, yeah. I mean, there's details, but I think overall it's probably all connected to something connected to pandemic. And so, yeah, pandemic quarantine life was not a fun time. It's not a fun time for some people still are in it, where we're technically not in it anymore. Whether we should be or not, I don't know. It's a different thing. But so what's been, let's start with the down, then we can kind of go to the high. What has been your biggest challenge this year?
I think the obvious of just having all of your work completely stop, just for months of what you, I can still remember. My year just has this massive gap in the middle of it, and I'm sure that's the same for a lot of people. But I remember the start of the year because we were at Reyes, we were doing work in schools, traveling, and I remember the moment we were talking about the coronavirus, walking down the road. I can still picture it. I can still picture the road that we were walking down, talking about it, wondering, is this going to affect us? Not knowing what was about to happen, and then we come back. And we're okay, we're going to have to close the church. And then all of a sudden, announcements are made that we're going into a 2-week quarantine or something. Mm-hmm. And so I'm out with Ramon and we're driving around buying supplies. Okay, how long do we need to supply for? And then the next 4 or 5 months of the year is just a big gap. I can see the result of it because you go into the church and you see the result of it, but I don't remember those 4 or 5 months. Yeah. Waking up in May. I don't remember the month of May, for example. I can see the result. Yeah. I can see the result of the month of May because we go into church, we can see the work that we did, or you go on Facebook and you see the videos and stuff like that. Yeah. But I don't remember the May happen, nothing special in May happened because it was just getting up and doing the same things every single day, working in the morning, having lunch with you guys, and then watching Netflix for the afternoon. Yeah. And then repeat for the next however long. So going from okay, this is going to be the year where we pick up and we push on with things, we were in a good place when everything shut down, and then all of a sudden, like, not knowing what's going to happen next. And you try and be optimistic about it, but then it's like different people are saying different things, like, oh, this could be for the whole year. And then you're like, well, I don't want to do this for the whole year. Like, and then it's like, oh, your family can't come out and visit. And you're like, oh, I was really looking forward to my family coming out. And yeah, you just, like, so many things go through your head. And it's just, like, so hard to just comprehend everything that's going on, and then to try and work productively through it at the same time, doing different things that, you're not trained in, or that, no real skill set in, making videos and trying to create teleprompters out of, like, cardboard and glass and elastic bands and stuff like that. And just, trying to find ways around it and keep working. It's just a real challenge.
Yeah, it was tough. It was just tough to stay focused, because, like, I worked through the whole thing, and that was great for me, because I was able to, like, just really kind of just some things that I wouldn't have had time to establish and learn and stuff on my regular schedule. I was able to learn and kind of build from that, which was great. But equally, it was, like, just out of the ordinary. And like, there's a dark cloud every time I would step into this office. Like, that cloud was like, you don't know when this is going to end. So it was hard. Like, so even, like, I feel like I took advantage of the quarantine to an extent. But even though, like, when it ended, I was like, man, I feel like I should have taken more advantage. But it was hard to do that when you didn't have an end in sight, And so that was tough, just to, like, mentally to kind of go through that, and, like, without knowing, and to be so excited at the beginning of the year, like you're saying, and to have all that slammed down, like, that was, that was tough. What about for you?
The uncertainty of things was definitely my biggest challenge, but in a kind of like in a different way, because my uncertainty came from, well, during the pandemic, the roads were closed, but then it was also because, people weren't allowed in and out, Oops, sorry.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, from different cities, they closed not borders, but
like the highway or whatever.
The highways, and so
interstates, or,
like, as a homemaker, I'm thinking, like, well, will we have everything that we need to eat? I knew we would have food, because, they have steak here and plantains and rice, but it was just like, that's not, if it came down to it, that's what we would have survived off of. But my mind was automatically like, I hope that this is not all that we're going to have access to. And then also with the girls being preoccupied about their level of education, not being able to go to school, and forgetting their Spanish was one of my worries. I don't know why.
Forgetting Spanish?
For the girls forgetting their Spanish, like, to the, because they heard Spanish instruction every day at school. I hope this is not a challenge for them to go back and, like, be able to sit in class and hear Spanish for 4 hours in the morning, even though they play with Claudia.
No, that wasn't going to be.
I know, but instruction in Spanish is different than their daily conversation.
But it's not something that they, like, were learning how to do. It's like, just like, when's the last time you went to school?
I don't know.
Would you forget how to receive instruction in English?
No, but they had just kind of learned it too. It's
no, but they didn't learn. They learned in Spanish, but they didn't learn how to. Because when you're a kid, you don't learn how to do stuff. You just, I mean, you do learn how to do some stuff, but, like, stuff like that, they just started speaking Spanish one day. Like, they just listened and understood. That was never, I didn't know you thought about that.
Yeah,
I could have eased that real quick.
Very quickly. But my biggest thing was, like, man, they're so far. I already thought that they were behind in education just because of the education system here. But then on top of that, it's like they've got this year of not going to school, and then the Board of Education not presenting any options for them, like in the States or in other countries. At least it was like, well, put them online. We're going to do online classes. And they tried it and didn't, and ended up canceling it just because of different issues with parents and stuff. And so
teachers' internet was always messed up.
Yeah.
I can't.
Or she would say she can't hop on to do class because it was her shopping day. But she had hours to shop, and class was only like 40 minutes.
Yeah. But then demanding pay. Like, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, we still had to pay pretty much the same thing. So, I mean.
I'm frozen. Like, you're blinking. We can see you blinking. Their internet was, every time the internet wasn't supposedly working. Like, you just don't want to work. Just say that. Like, hey guys, I don't want to do that.
So I think for me it was life preoccupations and
Is that a word?
preocupaciones. Yeah, it's a word. It depends on how you pronounce it.
It might be. It might
Worries,
be. I'm asking.
life worries.
mean-
Ministry. I wasn't too involved apart from worship, which we know that was going to come to a halt. There was no way for me to prepare. I could have kept on singing and did vocal courses and stuff, but that didn't worry me too much. I didn't face any challenges really ministry-wise because we still continued in a different way, which was exciting for me, and so that didn't wear on me.
Yeah.
It was the home stuff that got to me.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And the girls, we wouldn't let them out for months.
They didn't leave the house for like 6 months.
Yeah, and they did fairly well, but
they did great. Honestly, they didn't complain. I mean,
to you, because they know complaining to you is pointless.
everybody sets the bar for themselves.
Well, they'll complain to me, and I'll take on the job of well, let's see, do we have Play-Doh? We can make moon sand.
Look at your room. Your room is dirty. Don't complain to me.
Well, our approach is different. I'm like,
talking to me for?
let's find something educational. Let's read a book. Let's, practice our multiplication. And,
Are you bored? You see those cobwebs on the ceiling? You got a ladder.
We make a good team. A good balance.
Yeah. No, but they did good. They had good attitudes.
They
had better attitudes than a lot of adults, honestly. I mean, they're really good, go with the flow for the most part. I mean, they're kids still, but for the most part, they're really good at just kind of going with whatever and kind of taking it. And they had questions and stuff, obviously, but for the most part, they weren't super complaining about. I mean, they wished to go somewhere, and there's several times when they asked me, when can we go out again or whatever. But it was never I never took it as complaining. I mean, it's a great question because I don't know either, And so, no, they were great. That was helpful too because it was already hard as adults and parents and everything else. And definitely, you could understand it had they done it, but for a kid complaining about it every day wouldn't have helped. So they're great.
I read that one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people was the mental health challenges, issues like the isolation, and then actually having to stop because a lot of people stay somewhat mentally healthy by staying busy, so they don't have time to deal with their junk. But because they couldn't stay as busy,
they're forced to deal with their stuff, which is a good thing.
And so you saw marriages breaking up, divorces,
or on the other side, marital restoration. I hope in some cases.
I haven't heard of those cases.
We did. We had at our church there was a couple that
that's true.
They struggled and he traveled a lot and stuff and kind of enjoyed traveling a lot because it was just hard, and they were forced because they don't live in this community, so they're forced to stay together this whole time in quarantine, and it was good for them in the long run. I mean, it doesn't make everything perfect, but I remember when we went we were taking the food things or whatever, and me and Rudy took it over there, and she opened the door, oh, come in. They hadn't seen anybody in years. It was have a seat. So we're sitting outside in the yard. She brings watermelon out. So it's no. And we're because we were gonna go and keep delivering, but I just looked at Ruby no, we can't go, man. I mean, in the way they live, they just don't have much contact with their neighbors and stuff. Yeah. I mean, the way their house and stuff is, it's just not easy to do. And so, especially in the middle of all this or whatever. So, it was they had literally, we found them in the wilderness somewhere. And, they were no, don't go, But it was, yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure, hopefully it helped some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely can see how it can destroy. The quarantine didn't destroy families. Families were destroyed, and it brought that reality to a head, to a head, unfortunately. But hopefully, we learned a lot of stuff from that time of just deal with your issues, man, and kind of learning to be fulfilled on our own with Jesus. And I know that sounds cliche, but it is that, right? It's people finding their identity in their work and in whatever it is they do, and so they feel worthless when they can't be doing that. And it's okay, you shouldn't feel worthless. You can be bored. You can struggle with focus and whatever, but you shouldn't feel worthless because you can't do what you can't do something. And so I don't know, because the whole world was going through it. Anyways, what was the high note? Did
you share?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, shortly, briefly.
Isn't it easy to be the host?
I did. I said. Yeah. So what's your biggest victory from this year? What's a high point from this year? Got to dig a little bit deeper for this answer, but it's there. It's there.
For me, it was. I remember a time we sat down in a hammock. I was like at a really low point, kind of didn't really know what to do. I have these gifts, and what do I do with them, right? Kind of was all over the place with ideas. And Ramon and I sat down, and he's like, all right, write out a list of things, that you're good at, things that you like, things that you don't like. Just write it all down. Doesn't matter how stupid it seems. And I was just like, okay, chocolate and just random stuff. And he's like, no, just write it all down. And then we chatted about, some themes, I guess, that he saw that kind of stuck out and helped me like pinpoint at least like some kind of direction of what I wanted to do with my time and dedicate myself to. And the obvious is that I like graphic design, and I liked the idea of like small business stuff. And so I will always tell him, I want to help women. But he's like, that doesn't do anything. Like just saying just like a random, very general thing. It's like, you got to
have a how.
Yeah. And so out of that conversation came the idea for me to start an Etsy shop. And that was a high for me, because it like I get excited to think about new ideas.
Sorry, you have to explain what an Etsy shop is. So some people, I think maybe they.
Etsy shop is like, it's a shopping site online where you can go, and it was set up for homemade products, but it's kind of expanded, so you can buy like all kinds of things on there. It's a gift shop pretty much, but it's huge. And so you can like create an account and have like a boutique or a shop online, so you get to customize it, your name, URL, all that, pick your product and do all of your, and you have to sell too, you just don't post something and then it'll sell. However, like you have to work. There's a lot of business stuff behind it that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
But that was exciting, because like I think I started in March, and so a little bit short of a year, and I still am like thinking about new products, what'll sell, what'll help people, what are people interested in. And it also gives me a reason to design, besides just like, let me design something so I don't lose my creativity or ability and just come up with something random. So that's been exciting.
You'll probably hit 100 sales this week, if not today too, right? How many more?
I'm one away from 100 sales.
Yeah, so you'll probably hit that today at some point. So that's been picking up a lot. So that's been really cool. It's been fun and exciting to watch you do that as well, and just kind of find your way through that and learn just different, just business stuff, marketing stuff, and whatever. It's been fun to watch, Yeah. Because I'm like, how can we apply this to Red Root? No, I'm just kidding. But that's been cool to watch that. So and to see something from like such a time when, that's all you kind of see depressing stuff online is like 2020, the trash can, burning or whatever, and like the dumpster fire, which, but equally like, man, I feel like you took that time and you flipped it and like made really forced something good to come out of this, like something productive. That's going to be hopefully productive for you for years to come. Are we getting invaded? It sounded so much stronger in my headphones. Anyways, they're back.
Your birds.
No, I don't know what birds those are. They're not mine. I don't have birds anymore. But yeah. So no, it was just really cool to see. To see that. It's inspiring to me to see. Because when you look on Facebook or Instagram, and people just sitting around, which is fine. You understand that. But too like, how can I take advantage of this and make something come of it? What about you?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think the biggest thing that came out of this year was just making the decision that this is where I want to be permanently based for the foreseeable future. So like coming to that decision, talking it through with family, friends, speak to my supporting church and things like that, and getting everything in place to make it happen. That was a really cool, long process, which when you speak to people back home or something, they're always like, oh, that was never in doubt for us. We always knew you were going to do that and stuff. And it was like, well, you clearly knew before I did then. Just coming to that conclusion. And I think that helps with just seeing the rest of seeing the bigger picture in the sense of like, okay, this year's now coming to an end, but I'm not in like this mad panic of, I have to fit everything in right now. I have to achieve all my goals right now. Because actually it's like, okay, I'll be back.
Yeah, so you can pace yourself.
Yeah, and looking forward as well, you know, being strategic in, okay, like what can I do today, which will, you know, will affect when I'm back in 6 months' time, where I can then pick up off and continue going. So making that decision was obviously a big part of this year. But also just like the discovery more into the community development stuff, like just spending the months researching into that, looking into that, talking it over with you. Like, I think we both always knew about community development, and we knew the smaller parts of it. We just didn't really see like the big picture of everything, of
like
how
putting
it all
into words and an order.
Yeah, how it all fitted together. Like, I always knew, like, okay, I want to be involved in community development, and I always, you know, felt, well, this is clearly biblical, but yeah, just picturing everything together, putting everything together, and yeah, just all the
philosophy,
yeah,
the entire philosophy that existed.
Yeah,
and we had no idea. It's existed since the 60s. We just didn't know because it's not popular for whatever reason. Yeah. Anyways,
and so just like researching into that, reading about it, and it's just completely changed the way that I view any type of ministry that I'm now involved in. It's like, okay, you know, how can we run this in the best way? And just, you know, gets you to review everything and reflect on everything. It's now all that I want to talk about. Like, I did a lecture at my old uni a couple of weeks back, and they're like, what do you want to do it on? And I was like, this is community development. This is what I want to do it on.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, just like having that new view, I guess, of like the way that I do work, the way that I want to do work, going forward, I think it'll be a massive benefit for the years to come. Definitely.
Yeah. Do you feel like that? So it's called Christian Community Development Association for people who are interested or whatever, or don't know what we're talking about. It's an organization. Anyways, do you feel like digging into that played a part into your decision to come back?
Probably, yeah. I think because, well, I mean, like the first course that you do is relocation, which is obviously a big thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And so, like, you study into that, you look into that, and you just see all the plus sides, or not even plus sides, but just the biblical model of relocation. You know, whether that's, and when we talk about relocation, that can just be staying put in the city that you're born. It doesn't mean going overseas. It doesn't mean coming to Bolivia, Trinidad in particular. It could be returning to a city that you grew up in and things like that. So it's a much broader angle than maybe when you hear relocation, you think, oh, that means I've got to move house, or I've got to go to some obscure community in the middle of nowhere that I've never been to before. That's not necessarily, I mean, you might be called to that, but that's not necessarily what it's talking about. So yeah, just reading through that, discovering that, and then because I mean, it's just a really good course. They do online courses, and at the end of it, they have questions, and they're good questions. They're not like name one thing you learned from this course. Yeah. It's not like generic questions which you could easily skip over. They're questions that really make you think.
I couldn't answer some of them.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't have an answer for this.
Yeah, like they just get you to review and reflect on the work that you do and the lifestyle that you live in. And it's like, okay, does this match up? Like, if you've read all this and you believe all it, then it's like, does that match up with how your ministry is looking, how your life's looking? And I think, when you put the two side by side, I think that definitely played an impact on, like, okay, this is something I'm passionate about. It's something I completely agree with. So it's like, okay, I need to be matching up to this as well.
Yeah, it forces you to, like, I think a lot of books we read and it's like, oh, good, that was good. And like, we talk about how good the book was and how whatever, but we never apply it, But is it, for whatever reason with this stuff, it's like, it's not direct. I can't really explain. It challenges you, but it's not like confrontational challenge, which is okay too. Because sometimes it's necessary. And even in their case, they could confront. I mean, the reader or whoever, because we're not essentially obeying what biblical mandates and such. But they don't do it that way. They just challenge you, like you said, with kind of what seemingly solve questions, but they're very well thought out. The questions are, because the way they ask you, it's like, it seems like a softball question, but you can't hit it. You can't. It's not that there isn't an answer. It's that you don't have an answer because you're not doing it. You know what I mean? And so if you choose to not do it at this point, now it's like, oh, you're faced with it's you choosing not to do it. It's not like, oh, it just didn't. It's like, and they highlight that. So really good. Yeah, I think for me that those courses were really good as well. I think, that's one of the highlights of my year. For sure. It's just kind of being able to put in the word something that I've been dreaming about for, what is this, 2022? Like 8 years. You know what I mean? And when I say being able to put it into words, it's only because someone had already put it into words. Like someone was doing this in the South, in the United States since the 60s. Like just reconciliation on all levels. And in the midst of, not apartheid, what is it called? Segregation and stuff is when he started doing it. And so to see that it's possible, like reconciliation is possible literally when it's illegal. Well then, how much, like how can we reconcile when if we did it on a big level, we would have at least the local government support in what we're doing and stuff. And so, how much more should we pursue this stuff? And kind of just, like I said, just all these different dreams and stuff and all these different ideas that I've had over the years. I feel like it brings them all together. Like they have a book on that site about community gardening in the community and stuff like that. It's on my list. I haven't read it yet, by the way. But it's like, oh, this is like, and this whole world opened up of like literally when I went into their site and stuff. First, I read one of the books of one of the guys that's a big part of it or whatever. I think he started the organization. But then I went to their site and like they literally have just like a plethora of books that dealing with ideas that I've had over the years that were just not finished and undeveloped ideas and didn't see how it came together. So, and like I knew that there's a way to weave these ideas together, but I couldn't figure it out yet. Yeah. And so like I've literally just spent 8 years just trying to figure it out, like trying to put it together before we start and before we do this and before I start announcing stuff to the world and whatever, trying to figure out how do these things weave together because I have all these passions, and to the average person it would seem like I'm all over the place, and I'm not all over the place. It's a big dream, but I'm not all over the place. And so basically this did that work for me, is it weaved all these years of, and really before 2012, but it weaved all these years of dreams together and created this beautiful like masterpiece or image, I should say, because it's not done yet. But this beautiful image of what it's supposed to look like. And so, that was a high point for me, is having that. But then just having time to be able to like being forced to slow down and think about stuff and kind of just think about, I mean, really my whole life, just being forced to slow down and do that, and not having the pressure, like, oh, you got to prepare a message for Sunday, or you got to do like. We didn't really have any meetings or anything through that whole time. So it kind of forced me to think about like my preaching and like our church strategies and stuff like that. And I feel like it did help us come back from the quarantine stronger. Like when our church services, I feel like are a little more dynamic. I feel like my preaching is more dynamic and more, dynamic is probably the right word. And so I don't know. I think that was a high moment for me, that, and just being able to, as a church, like help people with the food stuff and whatever, like basic food, like people are so grateful,
I thought that was huge for a huge thing or moment for our church, just to be able to give and not have to, I guess just like our habit in the past has been to be the recipients of things. Like people are always giving to our church because our church needs this and needs this. But it was a moment where our church, who one would look at our small church and say they don't have a lot of resources to even do what they want to do, feed their members or the community, and to have been able to do that, I thought it was a beautiful thing, you know, because it went beyond like, oh, in case you don't have any food, here's some, to, man, these people love me and they care for me even in this moment when, they're not supposed to be here, they're here, So I think it was a big step for showing our members and our community that we love them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a chance for us to be who we're created to be as a church as well, and to it was also cool to see. I think even for our people that were involved in that project, is like, okay, we started doing that, and then for a church from the United States and an organization from, where was it from? There,
Latin Link.
Like to come in, I was Latin Link. Okay, to come in and want to we want to get involved in that and help that out as well. It's cool on both ends. One, that we were already doing it. That's really cool. But then on the other side of it too, that then you get people that want to help and join in, and it boosts it up even more. And so we're able to do more and stuff. And that's the way it's really supposed to work. So it's really cool time. Yeah, go ahead.
And just doing something where there's no strings attached to it either. Like we're doing a good thing because it's a good thing, and because it's what we're called to do, not because there's some backhanded deal going on, or where, okay, we'll give you this and you give us that in return. Just people who want to love come in, serving, helping, and delivering it out. Putting the team together, and just different random people coming in. And like when we had the office, like setting all those bags up, we must have had like 6, 7, 8 people in here. Just doing the bags, like kids coming around as well. Like little Kenny was around helping out, and it was just a really good moment where people were just doing a good thing because they wanted to love. Just none of this. Oh, we're doing this so that we can get this or whatever. It was just like, no, we just want to love. So this is why we're doing it.
I think that was great. It was a great moment, and equally, I think it painted kind of a picture forward of where we want to go as a church too, and as a ministry, and kind of like, hey, this is what we want to do. Yes, we want to preach solid doctrine and like all that stuff, but equally, like we want to be active in our community and serving people who are in need, like, and yes, praying for them, but not like equally doing what we can do, giving to stuff and all. So really cool time. That's my favorite video I think that I made this year too. We did a video blog of it, of giving out. If you haven't seen that video, you can go check it out. But fun times. All right, so what are you looking for? This is the last question. What are you what are we looking forward to? What are your expectations for this year? Like, what are some things that I don't know you're excited about, or that you need to do better, or some tweaks that I don't know, whatever. You can kind of interpret the question how you want.
I'm looking forward to I guess executing a lot of the plans that we made in the at the end of last year for this year that didn't come to pass. So different programs at our church, like small group. I'm looking forward to the relationships in our church going deeper, like within the church, not just with our neighbors, but that too, because
it starts with us,
Yeah. And like we can say we're close with our neighbors, because we see each other so frequently, but sometimes we miss that like going more profound. I don't know. Deeper. Yeah. Sometimes, and you're good with that with your friends, but the women in our community are not so much, just kind of a little bit more reserved. So I find it challenging to do that. But I think setting up specific moments where this is allowed, this is encouraged, I think that will result in more transparency. But also like the community's movie night that we planned. Like I'm excited about that. I love seeing a bunch of kids come get together. I mean, adults too. We hope that the parents would come out. That's the idea, right? But I just love being able to, as a church, provide something for the community that they otherwise would not have. Like we don't have a movie theater in Trinidad, so being able to bring them in and offer them something, a free evening with popcorn and fun and laughter, and letting them know we see you, we know you, and vice versa. I think that's going to be a cool experience to see and actually apply and work on all of the things that we planned last year and see how they result, how they turn out.
Yeah, for sure. What about you?
Yeah, I think, again, obviously there'll be a little gap of going home back to the UK, which I'm looking forward to. Like there are parts of it where I'm like, man, that's a really long time. Like you look at it and think, man.
Not that long.
Like,
did you say 6 months?
No, 3-4 months.
He's talking about 6 months from now when he said 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get like, I've got things planned and there's things I need to do, and it'll be great to see family and friends and do everything like that again. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm already looking forward to being back and stuck in to like what's going to happen at the next year. Same things that you said, like the church, different activities that we've got planned, just seeing how they go. How can we build off them? Where can we go with it? But yeah, I think like just like even personally on like my ministry point of view, it's like, okay, how can I take everything to the next level? Like if I came back in June, whenever it will be, June, July time, and I carry on doing what I'm doing now, like I'll be comfortable for the next 5 years. Like that's fine. I'll be happy and I'll be comfortable for the next 5 years if I come back and I do everything how I'm doing it now. But it's like, okay, but how can I take it to the next level? I think that's the bit that I'm looking forward to next. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I am comfortable. I am happy.
Absolutely.
Everything's going well. I love children's church. I love my role in the church. Football ministry, it's really enjoyable right now. But it's like, okay, like I don't want to go stale for 5 years. I don't want to just sit and then just be left sitting for 5 years and not move forward. So that challenge of, okay, how can we now take everything to the next level? Like, okay, children's church is good, but how can we reach the next level? How can we be more effective in our ministry? How can we get more leaders involved, or how can we reach more kids? How can we affect families as well, rather than just kids? Football ministry, like, how can we do more than what we're doing now? How can we improve it? How can we tweak it? And then just everything that's going on with the community development stuff as well. Like, what does that look like? Are we building next year? Are we not building? Are we buying more property? Are we starting courses, like, in preparation for it being ready? Are we starting businesses in preparation? Like, just, where everything's going to go with that. It's just exciting and challenging, because you're like, okay, things are moving forward, so we now have to keep moving forward with it. It's really good.
Yeah, just testing your own limits and kind of like pushing it, because I think, like, if we're doing better than what we projected, then that's where we get comfortable. But the thing is like, most people, not everybody, but most people, like, sell yourself short in your projections and expectations initially. And so it's like you expected not much from yourself. So when you're doing more than what you expected, then you're like, oh, well, shoot, at least I'm doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not even remotely close to what your potential is. And so it's like really pushing yourself and testing your limits and your ability, and not even just in your ability, but in God's ability to do through you, which we know there are no limits in that. So it's like, okay, well, so at that point, it's just like pacing and trusting, you know what I mean? But equally, like just walking it out. And that's one thing that, I've learned, or I'm learning, is like that God will take you as far as, like, you know what I mean? As far as you're willing to go for his kingdom. Like, that's how far he'll take you. He may not do it the way you want it to be done, but he will definitely, take you far, your impact. I mean, God is not going to be like, whoa, I don't want you to reach 1 million people. Like, sincerely, genuinely reach 1 million people through making disciples who make disciples who make disciples. I only called you to 4. Like, I don't think that, you know what I mean? That's just not, that doesn't make any sense. But like, so I think a lot of times we sell ourselves short because of, like you're saying, because of comfort. It's comfortable, it's easy, and this is my rhythm, and this is my role. And it's so exhausting sometimes to challenge yourself, to push, because you fall into that thing of trusting in yourself.
Because you wake up and you've had a good, or you go to bed and you've had a good day. Like, that's kind of like that's the mind frame that I'm going for at the moment, where I'm trying to push myself, like, even further, is like, I go to bed going, oh, I really enjoyed today. Yeah. And it's like, okay, but now what? Like, what? Yeah. That's great that I enjoyed the day, but it's like, I can't just have 5 years where I go to bed thinking like, oh, that was a really nice day. I mean, it's great, and that, the idea isn't that I have a bad day.
Yeah.
But
stretch yourself a bit.
Yeah, push, and strive for more. Like, okay, that was an enjoyable football session, but we still want to achieve holistic restoration within our community, and that wasn't, we haven't achieved that by having a good day or a good football session. So it's like,
building blocks.
We've got to keep going. We've got to keep pushing.
Yeah, and it's tough because it feels like a moving finish line sometimes, you know what I mean? But it's, understand too that the process is to the glory of God as well. And so, you know what I mean? And so you're building something. And I think that's the thing is just understanding that there's now, you have to be focused in the now, but equally understand that what you're doing now is building towards something in the future. And even what you're building towards the future is building towards something eternal. So it's like, it's exhausting when you put it on your own shoulders, but that's literally, we have the Holy Spirit to empower us to be able to serve, to serve and to love and to really stay focused on the right things and on who it is that's really doing the work. And it's already done the work really through us and in us, and empowered us to go and do the work. And so, I think, that's good.
We should be here, I guess, like in a couple weeks or so, having our annual planning meeting, about
for church?
No, Red Roots.
Yeah, we should.
About plans and stuff.
Yeah. Yep. We should. That's another thing I think about.
That's gonna be. We're gonna need a bigger board.
Possibly. I mean, it's exciting. We advanced a lot since last year, and like I said, I don't think sometimes you don't feel like you're gonna advance, but you do. And so now it's like, let's get. So we need to do that at some point. I think. For me, for next year, I think, I have expectations at this point, not even hopes. I have expectations of church growth, like in every way. Yes, individuals to grow and step into leadership and kind of, or not step into, but to start growing in that direction of into leadership and developing more leaders in our church. But equally, like I expect numerical growth as well. Like I want to reach more people. I want want people to get saved, not just people from other churches or people that like I'm not really interested in that. If they come, but that's not really the game for me. But people that don't know Jesus and people from my neighborhood and stuff, and like you're saying, basically the different projects and stuff that we're gonna do, the movie night, we have a tree planting thing that we're gonna start next year, and kind of adopting our neighborhood and taking on some different projects of beautification, I guess, projects and stuff. We're gonna plant trees, and there's heavy flooding in our area this time of year, actually, which is rainy season, and that would help with that. It would also help with, there's a ton of dust and, help with that and clean air, blah, 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 blah. So we want to do that stuff in our neighborhood. I'm excited about that. I'm just equally excited about just getting to know more neighbors and stuff. And I don't know. Yeah. I'm excited about pretty much everything, honestly. I'm not excited about the girls going back to school. Not excited about that at all.
Yeah.
Has that been confirmed yet?
Well, there's ideas that are being thrown out that we don't. There's maybe 2 days on, 2 days on, 2 days off, or something like that, or all 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3 days a week, and they'll divide the classes into two.
Right.
So hopefully my kids better be in the same class. But anyway, so it'll be like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, class A will meet, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, class B will meet. And so it would be great if my kids are in the same class. That way, we have time off and stuff. But anyways,
that would still leave their classes packed with 20 kids because there's 40 kids in their class. Yeah,
they go to a private school, so they're taking that money. You know what I mean, with that enrollment money, whoever. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, but yeah, so I have high expectations for this year, and this is my first time ever in my life that I think I'm like taking that step to not be afraid to say it. I'm not putting expectations on myself, but just I don't know. I do I'm believing God to push us forward in the ministry, and again, there are things, and this is what we've been reading about. It's things that first that He's already sent us to do biblically. Two, the things that we all can agree that we feel like are God's plans for our church and for our community. So, you know what I mean? So me to go step forward and like pray for those things and believe for those things. It's not, I'm not praying for magic. You know what I mean? Like, and just kind of stepping into it and just stewarding my life and my role in God's plan for our community and our church, and just kind of taking ownership of that. When I say ownership, I mean stewardship, like in that sense, you know what I mean? Of that, okay, well, God has entrusted this leadership role to me in our church. I can't just be like, well, I hope God does something. You know what I mean? No, like, okay, well, if God has entrusted this role to me and this position to me, then where am I going to take it? While depending on God every step of the way, but equally understanding that God has put me in this role, you know what I mean? And giving me a brain and stuff at the same time. And so, that balance obviously exists there, but equally, like, let's move this forward and stuff. And so, I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about that. I'm always going to be excited about it. My answer is always going to be the same, I think, about community stuff, church stuff, whatever, reaching people, blah, 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 blah. So, I am excited, though. I'm excited about the property purchase and buying the next piece of property. I mean, that's going to happen next year. Hopefully earlier next year, like first quarter will be great. Have that. So we'll own 2 pieces of property, and then we can go kind of seeing what we're going to do first. I'm excited about, like, making business plans to develop businesses to be able to pour back into the ministry and stuff like that. I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm here for it all. This, like I said, this has been a dream for me for years and years and years. And so, I mean, nobody got to wake me up in the morning. Nobody has to get me excited about this, or hype me up or whatever. Like, I'm excited. So that's it for me. I think it's going to be, there's a lot of unknowns this year, obviously, just like there was, or this coming year, just like there was this past year. But if that happens, that happens. You know what I mean? And like, each kind of deal with it and kind of move, just figure it out. Find ways to be productive in spite of pandemics or whatever the case may be. And so, got some different ideas for the church as well. There's some government issues that may come up with churches over the next 5 years at some point. And just kind of want to get ahead of that as far as, and not be like to the point where we have to like be panicking and stuff because we can't, I don't know. I want to get ahead of that and kind of be prepared as a church to be able to self-sustain and all these other things that, so I got some ideas and stuff. We'll see how it goes. So I'm excited. I'm excited about everything. So yeah. All right.
Cool.
All right. Well, good talk.
So 2021 is coming up, right?
Yeah, that's
And
what
I
we've been
know,
talking about.
I know, but like 2020, everyone had like these big creative
Nope, not
phrases,
doing
Yeah,
right?
2020 vision.
Yeah. So I just want to hear your rhyme and predictions for 2021.
2021, the victories are already won.
Oh,
Rhymes with itself.
Yeah.
1 and 1.
You know those kind of
Brilliant.
rappers.
No, we don't do those. We don't do those.
That's fun. They'll pop up anyway. I'll enjoy it when they pop up.
2021, the pandemic is done.
Yes.
That's one.
Yep.
That's really my expectation. Like, that's not even a phrase. That's my expectation. So, yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So, anyway, thank you for listening. We appreciate your love and support. And we hope you have a Merry Christmas. We didn't do a Christmas episode this year. Christmas traditions and stuff, but whatever.
I mean, go back and listen to last year's.
Yeah, that's right. They can do that. At some point, we talked about that, didn't we?
It won't change.
Yeah, you're right. It won't change. So, yeah, no, we hope you have a Merry Christmas and enjoy the end of the year and the season with your family. And in spite of everything that happened this year, that, you know, maybe if you're not going to be able to get with your family this year, I don't know. But I don't know. Just focusing on the right thing, focusing on the hope that we have in Jesus. That's what we talked about in our devotion on Monday with the clinic. The hope that we have in Jesus, in spite of everything that happens, when we put our hope in 2020, this is my year. 2021, this is my year. Or in a piece of property that we purchased. This is our. We can do this, and it's okay to be excited and hopeful of those things. But ultimately, our hope is in Jesus, and
right.
It's a great time to reflect on that hope, peace, joy, and love of Jesus, and really be fulfilled in that and in that alone. And so. That's my prayer for you at the end of the year, listener, and everyone who, you know, supports us or is a part of our community or whatever. And so, yeah. So Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Only one, not Happy New Year's. Happy New Year. Only one. Let's do one at a time. So, yeah, I hate when people say that.
I'm glad it didn't slip out this time.
No,
then.
you don't say it. You never say it. You never say it. Yeah, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks so much for listening. Be on the lookout. We're still fundraising.
Yes.
So, yeah, redroots.org for more information on that. And we will see you at some point next year. Provecho.